Welcome to the Aceman, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading us. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it so very much. And if you have a moment, please give us that 5-star written review wherever you download your podcast. It's a great way to help the podcast. If you want to help us out another way, tell a friend. We all learn about podcasts from our friends' recommendations, and that's a way you can help us out by recommending us to a friend.
And the last way, if you really enjoy the show, is to go to our Patreon page and become a patron. And that is at www.patreon.com/behindthefunny. And what that will get you, it's one simple giving level, $5 a month. That will get you a t-shirt or a mug, some sort of merchandise, as well as unlocking bonus content that only our patrons can access.
Thank you so much for supporting us. If you want to reach out, you got a question for us, you got a comment, anything, please send us an email at behindthefunnypod@gmail.com.
And now, enjoy the show.
Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Oh.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And thank you for joining us, everybody.
Why are you grabbing your head?
Yeah.
Scottober rolls along.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Like I said, if you guys watched the Joe Chin episode, which is a great episode.
Yeah.
Joe was a great guest. Investigated some amazing places. I absolutely love the people we have on in Scottober. I mean, just some amazing people with amazing stories, and it's so interesting. But tonight's episode has had me on edge more than any episode you have booked so far.
Great.
Because this
That's good.
This has been one of the most famous stories ever.
Yeah.
And you know, based in I don't
Listen
know.
to him. He's speechless for the first time in a long time.
This is
So
it's going to be interesting, but I don't know that we have enough bourbon.
Yeah, I know.
That's
We're finishing up a bourbon that we started a couple of weeks ago prior to Scottober,
and we can't have one named any better for this episode.
That's right.
Because I need all the intervention that I can get.
In keeping with the Scottober theme, we are drinking Heaven's Door. Paranormal bourbon.
Sweet baby Jesus with the Led Zeppelin wings, please come and shine your light upon me.
There you go. Whatever prayer you just said. I don't know what the hell that was. But listen, folks, we have been very anxiously awaiting this episode. We are so excited to have this person on. We've talked about her in the past. Our buddy Tom Stewart, who is still sick, so he's going to be joining us via the stream. He helped us secure this guest. We had the opportunity to meet her a year ago at the Ocean State Paracon when Ken DaCosta invited us.
Yeah.
And man, she was full of stories that night, and I knew. I think I asked her last year. I'm like, we do a podcast. Can we have you on next year? She was like, yeah.
You were like a kid at Christmas last year.
Oh yeah, it was amazing because she is a storyteller, but she's had actual experiences. So
right,
I'm not gonna
author.
Yeah,
a storyteller, actual experiences. I mean, just amazing person.
And what I loved, the line that got me that night was when she said, "Look, enough shit happened in that house that didn't need to be embellished on. They didn't need to make it scarier to make the movie." But you may recognize her at, like you said, author. Her book, House of Darkness, House of Light, was about the house that she grew up in right here in Rhode Island. and you may know it as the Conjuring House. So please welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, Miss Andrea Perron.
Welcome, Andrea.
Gentlemen, it's been too long.
I know it's been a year.
It has been.
And while we're talking, we're going to bring in our third chair co-host, Mr. Sicky himself.
Hello.
But that's
I
your
have
boy.
a voice. I have a voice. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. I love you all, but I'm sorry. I got a real soft spot for Tom. I've been a Tom fan for decades.
We have to.
We are too. We are too. Tom's our boy.
Yeah.
Tom's a great guy.
Love
Tom
you,
is
Andrea.
amazing.
Andrea and I go way back before the movie. When she first wrote her book, I was working at Channel 10 News.
Yeah.
And RJ Heim was looking for something to do in October, just a little story, something about paranormal, and he knew I was a paranormal investigator. And I said, "Oh, you should talk to this lady, Andrea. She lived in this haunted house, and she wrote a book about it. It's in Rhode Island, and that was like I think one of her first interviews."
Really?
Yep.
So this was all before Conjuring,
before the Conjuring
movie, any of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, RJ has become a close friend. He's a wonderful man, as you well know, and he is extremely intelligent and extremely well-versed in all things paranormal. In other words, we have a lot in common. He's so much more than a news reporter and, former weather meteorologist, weathercast. I guess he does both. He does everything. There's nothing he can't do. And,
did he have experience in paranormal? Is that what got him interested in becoming well versed? Did he have his own experience as a kid or as a young adult?
I guess you're just gonna have to have him on the show and ask.
Oh, we'd love to have RJ on. That'd be fantastic.
I make it a practice to tell my own stories, but not to tell others stories. Yes,
that's fair. That's fair.
Now, what year did you release the book, Andrea?
It's
what
3
year
books, actually. It's a trilogy, all the same title, House of Darkness, House of Light. And it was just too big a story to publish as a singular volume. Mm-hmm. So my publisher suggested that we turn it into a trilogy. I published the first volume in March of 2011, the second volume in 2012, and the third volume right after the film came out. So it's been, even though there's not that much that's accurate in The Conjuring, I do credit that film with making me one of the leading authors. I can't imagine that anybody sells more books than I do in this field, frankly. I mean, it's just, and I get thousands and thousands of letters. And of course, I have a huge following in New England. That would stand to reason.
Of course.
But also a huge following in Michigan.
Really?
And I have figured out why. Not only are there a bunch of weirdos that live up, especially around the Upper Peninsula, but they only have 3 things to do. They ride snowmobiles, they drink beer, and they read books. And sometimes they do all 3 at once. I've seen it. That's where the phrase "hold my beer" comes from. Turn the page. Or turn the snowmobile.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I'm up there quite a bit, actually, touring in Michigan. And I tour up there out of just sheer love for the people. But I also lecture with John Tenney. He's really the only person that I do lecture with. And, so when we have an opportunity to do a show together, and everybody watching should look up John E. L. Tenney. He is the king of the realm of the weird. And he calls me the queen of high strangeness. And I'm convinced that together we do rule the netherworld.
Really? Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool. So when you wrote that, I mean, obviously, The Conjuring has come out with 3 different movies, all different.
It's 7.
And is it? Oh, yeah.
It's 7 now.
Only the first one has anything to do with my
to do with
family
you.
story. Right.
Right. So when you say 7, are you considering like The Nun and all of those offshoot movies?
Yes.
Okay.
All those offshoot movies are what they call part of the Conjuring universe.
Right.
They're based on the Warren investigations.
Right. Based on the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Yes.
Right.
They did cherry pick
Annabelle.
a few details from my books. They read my books. Okay, I'll just tell you honestly, outright.
Yeah.
James Wan is a chicken shit. And he openly admits it. He read my books and he said, "Oh, hell no. We're not." He refused to step foot in Rhode Island because that's where the house was.
Really?
And that's when he went looking south for a set and found the house that you see on the cover of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Is in actually Wilmington, North Carolina.
North Carolina, right.
Really?
Yep. You should have seen him climbing up in the trees, pulling all the Spanish moss out. Because, of course, Rhode Island doesn't have Spanish
moss. Yeah, right. So, but in other words, like you have 3 volumes worth of a book, but they only made 1 movie about that. You must have had so many more experiences, obviously, that weren't even covered in any of the movie. Like, why bother going on to The Conjuring 2 and 3 and all these other stories when there were so many stories still with that house? I mean, I'm sure you can't answer that.
It's okay. Yes, I can. Because what it did, that they told so little of our true story. And, did the whole Hollyweird method and formula. There was no exorcism. None of us knew who the Annabelle doll was.
Right.
There are 1,000 things that I could clarify for you in our time together, but I've done it on 1,000 other podcasts.
Right.
So, we can go in any direction you want, but suffice to say that film bears no actual resemblance to our story. And our story is much deeper and richer and fuller. And the film makes it look like the Warrens moved in and rescued us, and nothing could have been further from the truth. Yeah. They didn't mean to, but it actually stirred up the activity in the house when they came. And my mother never sought them out. They showed up at our door the night before Halloween in 1973. And my mother let them in because it was cold out and it was 1973. And you didn't just assume whoever came to your door after dark was an axe murderer.
Right.
So we live in a little bit different world now.
Yeah. Well, now, how would they have found out about what was going on, in 1973? Nowadays, with the internet, obviously, it's a different world. But in 73,
Keith Johnson told them.
Who?
Okay.
Keith Johnson told them.
He's a paranormal investigator from Rhode Island.
Paranormal investigator.
Okay.
He and his team showed up at our house. He said that my mother called them and asked them for help. My mother said, "No, I never called anybody. I never called anybody for help. We don't know how that happened. We will never have clarity on that." I think that there was some kind of, spirits can actually, a spirit that's powerful enough can infuse its will. Or
direct people to do things.
I guess. But, Keith Johnson was very kind and very gentle. And he had a very extreme incident at the house the day that he and his team came that really changed him forever. And
was that before you guys moved in, or was it?
No, we had been there for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so,
for 3 years.
How did that happen?
When my father when the Warrens came, they kind of kicked Keith and his team to the curb because they, treated them like they were just, teenagers. But he was actually the one that told the Warrens about our predicament. And my mother had a sense of trusting him, even though she was, this was not something that we were allowed to talk about. I had already gotten in trouble in school for saying something, and I was a goody two-shoes straight A student that got threatened with expulsion for talking about what was happening in our house.
Yeah, it was a lot more taboo to talk about stuff like that back in the 70s.
It really was.
I was going to say we should jump back kind of to the beginning.
Yeah, so that's what so you guys moved in then in 1970?
We bought the house in 1970 in December.
Okay.
The beginning of December, but Mr. Kenyon was not yet ready to move out, and my mother didn't want to move us over the holidays. So we moved in the beginning of January.
Okay.
But we owned it from 1970 till 1980.
And when did things start happening?
Immediately.
Really?
Yeah, but not when we were visiting. We visited the house a number of times as a family before we actually bought it and moved in. And no one, as I was writing my books and going through, every member of the family, asking them for recollections, no one could remember seeing anything, feeling anything odd or unlikely or strange at the farm before we moved in. On the day we moved in, all bets were off. That was everything changed. Yeah.
Had Mr. Kenyon had any experiences in the past?
Not that he spoke about.
Not that he shared, right?
But he did tell my father. He left my father with a very cryptic message just before it was official that we had moved in and he was moving out. And he took my dad for a walk and he said, "Roger, for the sake of your family, leave the lights on at night." And my father didn't know how to interpret that. Ghosts weren't on the radar. We had just bought one of the original colonial homes in America, one of the few that were left.
Right.
And so I guess he figured Mr. Kenyon was trying to warn him that all the girls were sleeping upstairs and there were two very old, narrow stairwells to the first floor and only one bathroom on the first floor. And if you didn't want your kids in piles, should leave some lights on. That's how he figured
processed it
as.
as. Yeah.
But within a few months, we learned that there was no one that lived in the area that ever went past that house, no matter what time of night or early morning hours, that every light in the house wasn't on every single night. Yeah. So we think that Mr. Kenyon knew the house was active, and the way that he and his wife held it at bay was to leave the lights on at night.
Leave the lights on. How long did he own it before your father and mom?
60 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Imagine living in a house for 60 years knowing that you can't turn the lights off.
No.
Jesus.
If I had had my way, I would never have left that house.
Really?
If I had had my way, that would be our family home till all of us were gone. Yeah.
So what happened then? In 1980, your parents sold it. What was the reasoning?
Because my mother told my father she would not survive another winter in that house.
Really?
And she wasn't just talking about paranormal activity. She was talking about, it wasn't just supernatural. It was the natural cold of the environment that had taken such a toll on her. And she wanted to move south and be warm for the first time in 20 years and 21 years since she had moved to Rhode Island and Connecticut and had me when she was 19. And she wanted to go home. And after living in that house for a decade, I understand that she wanted to go home. But I'll tell you what, when my father called me in college, in my senior year of college, and told me that they had sold the house, I mean, I hyperventilated. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute. What?
Right.
You did what? I mean, nobody had forewarned me. I felt so slighted, like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
I even remember yelling at him. I thought our family was a democracy. Wait a minute. I never got a vote. Nobody ever asked my opinion about this.
Right.
And it was too late and it was done. And I was sobbing. And my father said, okay, just, breathe, calm down. I'm going to put your mother on the phone. And he did. And she explained to me what happened and how it happened. And the house had actually been on the market for 6 months and not a single call had come on it. The house did not want to let us go.
Really?
And my father ended up going to the abutting landowners and cut them the deal of the new millennium to take it off their hands so that we could make a fresh start in Georgia. Now, that said, let me tell you this. Cody and Satori, Cody Ray Despian and Satori Hawes.
Yep, we had them on the show a couple of weeks ago.
And when I was with them at the farm about 5-6 weeks ago, all the spirits started blasting through them, just blasting through them. Really? And, you know, spelled out my name. I said they had a message for me. And so they asked them the message. And you know how the knocking that happens with them? There were 4 knocks. So Satori said 4 words. And they spelled out, "We miss your family."
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, I sat there like, oh my God.
Scott's got chills.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh no, it's even better than that. No, I have an even better story than that. I mean, even though that was phenomenal and I will never, ever forget it. But I mean, this is stuff that's like happening recently.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And in my books, the day that we moved in, I saw a full body apparition that looked like flesh and blood to me. I said, "Good morning, sir." And I walked past him. I'm sure I assumed he was either a friend or a relative of Mr. Kenyon's. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Kenyon was in the dining room packing up a box of china out of the corner cupboard. Mm-hmm. And I talked with him briefly. And then I turned with the box that I was carrying. This is on moving day, like 2 minutes into moving day. And there he's standing in the corner, and I hadn't seen him when I walked in the room, but I don't know. I was a 12-year-old. I just turned and I saw him, and a polite one at that. I said, "Good morning, sir." He looked right through me like I was the ghost. Like he didn't even see me. He was fixated on Mr. Kenyon. So I go in the kitchen and ask my mom who the guy is with Mr. Kenyon. And she said, "Nobody's with him. His son's on the way. He's not here yet." And so, you know, I just figured truly it was a neighbor stopped by or, you know, something. Right. And I went back out around from the kitchen door to get the next box. And meanwhile, my sister, and April, my baby sister, was in the kitchen with my mother unpacking boxes marked kitchen so that we could eat a meal there that night. And it was a wicked storm. I mean, wicked ice pellets like pelting you in the face. And so windy. And so I wanted to just hustle back out and get another box and, you know, let's get this done and over with. And there was a whole caravan of people. My aunts and uncles and my grandmother was there. And I mean, it was just crazy. It was moving day. And then Christine walked into the kitchen. She saw him and walked past him in the front foyer, asked my mom who he was. Mom wasn't interested in going to find out. She was unpacking boxes. And so then Cindy came in and she's like, "Mom, who's that man with Mr. Kenyon? He's dressed funny." And my mother's like, "It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Go get me another box." But before Cindy could leave the kitchen, Nancy walked in and leaned over to her and said, "Sin, did you see that man with Mr. Kenyon?" "I did, but he just disappeared." And that was our introduction. That moment was our introduction.
So when you say immediately, literally immediately on moving day, you saw something.
And then my sister, we saw him all day, off and on, just the 4 of us. The 2 men that he was standing right beside, my father and Mr. Kenyon, did not see him, but all 4 of us did.
Just you girls.
And Mom kept my baby sister April with her in the kitchen and never even came into that room because she was not only having to unpack all of our dishes and glassware, she was having to use all the packing material and the boxes to pack Mr. Kenyon because he was not ready to go. Meanwhile, my father said, "You know, Earl Kenyon, you know, this house is plenty big enough. You can just stay here with us and live with us if you want." We loved him. Yeah. What a wonderful man. Really? And he got all tears in his eyes and, it was heartbreaking. And he said, "I can't, my son will never allow that." And
so was he moving?
Just heartbreaking. And there's the spirit standing right in the corner of the room. And the expression on his face was that he felt the same sorrow of Mr. Kenyon leaving.
That he really didn't want to leave.
That he didn't really want him to go. It was amazing. But we knew enough not to say anything because it was obvious that the 2 adult men in the room did not see him. Well, he kept appearing over and over again. And a few days into our new home, my sister Nancy named him Manny because he was a man. and she needed to call him something when she was talking to us about what she saw and what she saw disappear. And so she named him Manny. This is in January of 1971.
Yep.
Fast forward to January of 2022, and Cody and Satori are at the farm, and a spirit comes through named Joseph. Now, my mother did the historical research on the property, and the only one that she could find that had died in the house was a man named Johnny Arnold, around 1850, had died in the house. And he seemed to be, according to the death certificate, roughly the same age visually. So we just figured all these years, half a century, that Manny was Johnny Arnold, who died drinking horse liniment in one of the eaves of the house.
Really?
Cody and Satori, knock, 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 tap, tap, tap on the unified field of consciousness. And who comes through but Joseph?
Wow.
And he says, when everybody looks at each other and says, do you remember Joseph in the books? Is there any mention of a Joseph as a spirit? And everybody's kind of shaking their heads. And he clarifies through them. Nancy called me Manny.
Wow.
Holy shit. And they had no way of knowing that, right?
Absolutely.
They didn't know that. That wasn't in the books or anything like that.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
And I just wanted to throw in what it is exactly Cody and Satori do, because I don't think Ace and Scott have really seen it.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen them on an investigation. We're going to go.
Along with all the artifacts that they collect, they have this. They're excellent paranormal investigators, first of all, but
they're also conduits.
Yeah, the two of them discovered that together they form some sort of a
they're like the Wonder Twins, of paranormal.
They hold each other's hands, and you can hear a knocking in the room from the spirit. And I've witnessed this a few times, and I'm telling you, I'm a huge skeptic about everything, and this blows my mind.
Yeah,
it does.
They're able to communicate through those series of knocks. Knock once for yes, twice for no. Satori will run through the alphabet, and when the spirit will knock at the right letter, and they'll spell things out. And I'll just tell you my quick experience last week when I was at the Conjuring house, because Cody and Satori were there.
Right.
Andrea, we were up in the far bedroom upstairs, and there was a group there. Just they had paid to do like an investigation, and Cody and Satori were there to do their thing, and I was just kind of hanging around. I wasn't part of it, so I just stood in the doorway, minded my business, didn't talk, didn't get involved. And all of a sudden, they started doing their thing, and I could hear the knocking behind me coming from the other room, and it went right through me and into the room to where Cody and Satori were.
Yes.
Like I felt and heard the knocks on the floor or wherever it's coming from go right past me. It blew my mind. It was
you
like
can't discern where it's coming from.
You really can't.
Thing.
But I could tell that it came from the other room and rushed in right through me because I was blocking the doorway to get in that room to communicate with Cody and Satori. And the spirit was Abigail. I guess you'll know who that is.
Andrea. I know her. Abigail Arnold. Yep.
Abigail's message was that, I forget the name now, but somebody had stolen something from the garden, and she's still upset about it. That was the message that came through.
Wow. And what was Abigail in relation to Joseph? Because they both had the same last name, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? You know what got stolen from the garden? Oh, my God, Tom. I mean, right now here in real time, I'm learning something from a spirit from my childhood home through you on your live air.
It was meant to be, I guess. Oh, my
God. Okay. My mother found a pewter buckle from like shoes that the Puritans used to wear. A square, like a rectangular pewter buckle she found in the garden. And she had put it in a paper bag along with several other artifacts that she had discovered on the property. And the night that the Warrens came to do the seance, that bag of artifacts that was in the corner cupboard in the dining room disappeared.
Oh.
Really?
Yes. Nobody has ever heard this story before. I am telling you
kidding
live.
me?
This is what happened.
That's
That
freaky.
bag disappeared. It had a perfume bottle in it that she had dug out of the dump behind the barn. It had a doll's head on it, and I've been told where these items have been seen before, but I'm not even gonna go there. It's too late. They are gone. They were taken.
I was just going to ask, has anyone seen, because I know the Warrens have, I know they both have passed on, but there's a museum in Connecticut. Have those items been seen there?
They have been seen in a setting
Wow.
where they are under glass.
Really? Holy
All I'm going to
crap.
say, because
And now, I don't know if you heard me. Was Abigail related to Joseph Arnold? Because they have the
I
same
don't know. I
last
guess
name?
I'll have to ask her when I go up for Halloween.
Wow. Oh, you're going to be
there
up for Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. In fact, if anybody wants to go to the website, and there's a few tickets left, we're going to be doing a live viewing. We're going to be
Live
viewing
investigation.
The Conjuring.
No, they're gonna watch the movie at
we're
the
gonna
house.
watch
At the
the
house?
movie.
Oh, my
How
God.
cool is that?
Let's go, Scott. Look at
Watch
him.
The Conjuring in the
Oh yeah,
Conjuring
it's going
house.
to be so much fun with
I
me
have
standing
something that
behind
night.
it going, and that didn't happen.
That's
and
bullshit.
That didn't happen. And no, that didn't happen. Yeah,
That's
Andrea cut.
bullshit. And that's bullshit.
That's awesome.
The Andrea cut version. I love that.
Yeah, right?
Forget the director's cut. This is the
Was
real
it?
cut.
Was it? Andrea's got something to say.
That's the thing I don't understand, because I remember you saying when we were at Paracon last year, you were like, there was enough scary stuff that happened there
Yeah.
that they didn't need to embellish or change stuff. Like, you know.
Oh, I know.
No, but like
I
she
know.
said, they had to Hollyweird it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, no, it was really because even the executives, even the suits at New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers are, they might be wealthy, but they're wealthy fear-based carbon units. And, after the screenwriters read my books and tried to incorporate elements of the true story into the
movie.
screenplay,
Yeah.
the execs sent it back 7 times and said, redact it, take it out. No, this will scare people out of the theater. And what's the point of making a movie? Nobody stays to watch till the end.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
Wait, it was too scary.
That's
They toned
ridiculous.
it so far down.
That's
They had to
crazy.
tone it down because it was
Unrecognizable.
too scary.
That's crazy, because that was the big thing that made The Exorcist so big back in the 70s. Was it was so scary, people left the theaters and were throwing up in garbage baskets, so it made more people want to go see it. Suits are dumb. I mean, we know that from comedy, but that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. But it frees me up to tell my own story, my own.
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think you elaborated or you alluded to that last year that you've been working on something.
Be damned. I mean, I told my producers that I've got a whole team around me of fabulous people, and believe it or not everybody that works in Hollywood is the spawn of Satan.
Yeah.
There are some really great people out there, and I've got wonderful production partners. And we've decided that we should really rename the company Global Pandemic Productions, because we have gotten so much accomplished in the last
during the
2.5
pandemic.
years. You can't even imagine. And it's all coming together. It was just, we lost. In some ways, we gained the time to do it right.
To do it the way you really want to.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So let me ask you this, and if you can't share, too much, I understand. Are you looking at movie, TV, series?
All of the above.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, remember what we told you last year. If you need extras,
authentic,
especially someone who's going to be scared shitless running out of a house, screaming
if
like
you,
a little girl.
If you
that's
want
Scott.
non-acting fear,
yes. He will be absolutely
I
true.
will blow every actor out of that room in the reading.
Yep, exactly.
You will never see authentic fear like you will see from me.
They'll be like Sean Penn.
Scott, I've heard you're a total wuss.
And what's your point?
Getting around.
Tom told me that. I think.
And what's your point?
I think I told you that too last year.
And I think that you did tell me that. Yes.
That's so funny.
Andrea, I was bullied as a kid. This does not bother me at all. I am absolutely.
So was I.
Yeah.
I am absolutely embracing my wussiness. I have no problem with that. No, I will say, because of people like Tom and some of the other guests that we've had on, I have learned a lot about this, and I'm not ready to embrace it, but I understand it a little bit more. And people like yourself that know more and have more experience in it have helped me kind of understand a little bit more than my fear was more out of ignorance than anything else. But I'm still not ready to jump in both feet into the deep end of the pool.
And
you will.
Nor should you, because
it's not a reason to.
A good healthy skepticism is I think a natural quality for people. I mean, I didn't even believe my own eyes, and I'll tell you what, had I not lived what I did, I can't tell you, if I were to read this story and someone else wrote it, I can't tell you that I would believe it.
I also find it strange in a way that you sit here and you say that one side of you have this book that you wrote, and you have these 3 books, excuse me. You're correct, 3 books that have these experiences that were so scary that they couldn't write it into the script for the movie, but at the same time you would have kept this house in your family. So you've obviously embraced what you've had with these experiences over the years.
Well, several of us did. It kind of fractured the family when the house got sold, because it did fracture the family. Really? We never lived under the same roof together again. My sister Nancy refused to move. She went to the new owners, and she had been their babysitter, and said she would stay on as the caretaker as long as they wanted her to. And they agreed, and she stayed for quite some time.
Really?
After the rest of us moved to Georgia. And by the time she got to Georgia, we had all dispersed. I was living in Roswell, and, my sister was in Dunwoody, and my other sister was, we were just all over the place.
Right.
And so that was it. That was the last time that we lived together as a family. And half of us wanted to leave and never look back, and half of us never wanted to leave. And I think it depended. I still can't tell you exactly why, but I think that part of it was how we each developed relationships with the house and the spirits that dwelled within. Okay. I never had an issue with any of them. I was never harmed by any of them. They knew that they would show up in my room when I was writing in my journal. I mean, I had a journal on the front of it that said, my ghost stories. And then when I was away at college, my sisters would write me letters, all of which I still have. And I would put it in a file called the Ghost Post. And I just chronicled the events that occurred in that house over a decade. Wow. And then 30 years later, I decided that the world was ready for the story. It was like a bell went off in my head that said, it's time. It's time.
So the 3 books were the collection between your journal and then the letters that your sisters would send you based on their experiences.
Yeah. And I also did endless hours of conversation with members of my family, all of whom were still alive at the time. Sadly, we lost my baby sister, April, in 2017, very suddenly and tragically. And I will take this moment right now to say, my public service announcement: fentanyl will make you feel better until it makes you feel dead.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's
Thank
horrible.
you. All she did was her doctor gave her a fentanyl patch, and I guess she didn't know where to put it. And she opened it and she laid it on the thin skin of her thigh while she was reading the instructions. And in that amount of time, it killed her. It went right to her heart.
Oh my God.
The night before she was supposed to have surgery on her neck. And she was in so much pain that he had her on oxycodone, but he also gave her fentanyl. And that was it. That was the end of April's life, probably within 15 minutes.
It's such a dangerous medication. I'm surprised that they would give it outpatient like that.
But you know what? Wow. I'm so shocked that I can now actually talk about it without sobbing. But here's the thing. Had I not grown up in the environment in which I did, I don't know if I would have recognized the signs of April being around me and around our family. And, you know, when we get a heavy whiff of gardenia, what we called her old lady perfume.
Really?
She's right there. She's right there. And I'll tell you another story, and this is an important one, and I'm sorry to dominate the conversation.
No,
it's about you.
It's about you.
It's about you.
So you're going to have to put up with it. This was phenomenal. This was phenomenal. We were there. I was there. I don't know when it was. Oh, my God. I've been traveling so much. But recently up at the farm, and I was there with Cody and Satori and Tim Weisberg and Amanda Millette and, you know, of course, Jacqueline Nunez, the new owner of the farm, who is the most perfect person.
She's awesome.
To own that farm. She's so perfect. And
that's so
she and
awesome
I work
to hear.
together splendidly well. And, you know, I'm going to be up there for the whole Halloween. I just, you know, I mean, the whole weekend I'm going to be there. So
that's awesome.
You know, go to the website and find out when I'll be there and let's, you know, visit.
I'm looking it up now.
But anyway, April is an Aries and she has a tendency to blast through whenever I am with Cody and Satori. And the first Christmas after her death was very difficult for all of us. You know, we missed her and we missed everything about her, even how incredibly annoying she could be. And when April passed, she had gone down and visited with my mother and my sister Christine for several days prior to going back to her home in Woodstock to prepare just north of Atlanta, and they live west of Atlanta. And she left her little dog, Sammy. It's a Maltese. He was a rescue, and he was attached at the hip to my sister. And the last thing she said was, "Mommy will be back in a few days," because she had planned on coming down to my mom's house to recuperate from her surgery. And he searched and searched that house for months and finally gave up and figured out that she was not ever coming back. And that was a very difficult time for all of us. And seeing him suffer and long for her companionship was very difficult. And of course, we were all beyond bereft, just beyond bereft. And so Christmas came around. And of course, it's difficult when you've had somebody so close to you pass so suddenly and so young. She was 51 years old. She was a couple of weeks away from her 52nd birthday. And so anyway, Christine, my sister Christine, I'm at her house for the holidays. My dad flies up from here in Orlando and joins us over Christmas week to New Year's, much to my mother's dismay. Did I say that out loud? Oh my God. Yeah, but in recent years, I haven't needed my referee's uniform, so we're making progress.
So they're not together.
Oh God,
obviously.
No. Oh God, that's N capital O. No. No, they divorced in 1983, about 2-3 years.
Oh wow, 3 years after
away
they
from the farm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The farm was the death blow to their otherwise perfect marriage. Yeah,
really?
It was.
Was it that he didn't want to move to Georgia?
Believe it, and my mother would have swallowed her own tongue before lying to him, and she saw that her children felt abandoned by their father, and that was the beginning of a chasm that widened into the San Andreas fault. So anyway, that said, whole nother story, whole nother episode whenever you want to do it.
All right.
But
chalk that one up later.
Yeah. Christine had gone to Wally World, aka Walmart, and gotten some dog toys for Sammy for Christmas, the little dog.
Yeah.
And they were in a blue bag, Wally World bag, up on the bar in the kitchen. And we all saw them and we all walked past them, but they were up high enough that he couldn't see them. And so we were going to put them in his stocking that was hung over at the chimney with care. And that Christmas Eve, as we're wrapping up the last of our things, Chris starts looking for the dog toys. It's a whole bag full of dog toys. And it's gone. It's just not there. And Dad, Mom, Chris, and I tore that house apart looking for those toys because she wanted to make sure that Sammy had a good Christmas. And that's how we are with our animals. And they were gone. And so we put together the bags and everything for everybody for our big family gathering on Christmas Day. And the next morning we exchanged our own gifts. She was heartbroken that they were missing. And my father opened one of his and he picked some tissue paper up and he threw it in the trash can, green and red tissue paper in the trash can next to my sister's desk. This is important. We went and had our family gathering. There was nothing, I mean zero, left under the Christmas tree when we left to go to my niece's house. We had our Christmas together. We came home and Christine sat in her recliner. I crashed on the sofa and Christine leaned back and she said, "Oh my God, we forgot a bag. How did we forget a bag?" And I said, "Chris, I'm telling you, no, we did not forget a bag, honey. That tree was completely cleared out when we left." And she said, "Oh my God, it's one of my display bags." She has 12 display Christmas bags that she bought when she lived in Manhattan that are too beautiful to ever give away. They are artwork. And when she's in high spirits, she will use a few of them every year to decorate the house with and fill them with baby's breath and bows and things. But this Christmas was not that Christmas to celebrate. And they stayed in their box in storage in her closet that Christmas. Well, there was one of them filled with dog toys and red and green paper from off the top of the trash.
Oh my
when
God.
we came home.
Oh my God.
So that April could give Sammy his Christmas gifts.
Wow.
And when I was at the farmhouse a few weeks ago, here she comes busting through and she starts spelling out words. Guess what words my sister spelled out through Cody and Satori?
Yep.
Dog treats.
Christmas,
Christmas.
dog, toys, bag,
Wow.
Chris, my sister, and Sammy.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
And I said, I knew it was you. I knew it was you that did this, you little thief, you kleptomaniac. You stole the dog toys so that you could give them to Sammy.
That
And
sister
Chris
rivalry
and
never
Mom.
goes away. only an older sister would turn a paranormal experience into an excuse to bitch at her younger sister. That's awesome.
That's a true sister right
that's
there.
That's it. You son of a bitch.
I knew it was you.
That's
I knew it was you. And so did all the rest of us. We all knew it was her.
What
And
a
how
great
powerful-
story.
How powerful a spirit must she be to be able
to do that.
manipulate objects that way in our
Amazing.
absence?
Now let me ask you, Andrea. Do you think that you guys are more in tune with this stuff because of your experiences at the farmhouse?
Yes.
Or do you just think your family was always in tune with this type of stuff?
No, I said earlier, ghosts were not on the radar when we moved there. It was not. The only time you even heard the word in our family was if Mom had a ratty sheet she was willing to cut holes into so somebody could be a ghost at Halloween.
Halloween.
You know, I mean, really, that was it.
Well, and to your point earlier, the previous owner, even though he was cryptic about it, he was trying to say something. Like that there was something going on at that house. So, it wasn't that your family was extra sensitive. He was telling you what was going to happen.
He was. And you know, it didn't take long for us to figure out that the house had a reputation. But back at that time in Rhode Island, you didn't have to disclose anything as a real estate agent.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
In
or-
some states, you have to. In some states, it's a law. If the house is
Well-
haunted or there's been a murder inside of it,
Right.
you have to
Right.
reveal it.
They
but
have to disclose it without being asked.
Well, it's
And-
Rhode Island, so no one needs to know nothing.
Hey, you don't need to know nothing
Forget
about
about
nothing.
it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
At Wells Avenue, don't even go there.
Exactly.
Don't worry about that door. Nobody's
Yeah.
opened it in years. It's fine.
Maybe Raymond Petriarca did a little farming up there in the garden,
Don't
You never
worry
know,
about
you
it.
never know. You
Yeah, that's
never
right.
know.
That wasn't a Puritan buckle. That was a Z Cavarici shoe buckle,
Yeah, they came from Federal Hill.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
That's right.
Let me ask
no
you a question,
questions.
Andrea. Actually, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
A serious one and one that you get asked all the time. I'll bet this is the most asked question you ever get.
Ooh.
Is did you and your sisters play the clapping game, or was that just part?
I
of the
was
movie?
going to ask that.
Oh, well,
I
it's
bet you
too
get asked
late
that
because
all
you
the
missed
time.
your chance because Tom
Yeah,
asked.
I
jumped
know,
in.
I know. No, that's
you
a
were
great
too busy
question,
doing
though.
your Federal Hill bit.
Hey, forget about
Hey,
it.
forget about
I'll
it.
clap you.
I'll give you a clap, Tom, right
I'm
across the
guessing-
chops.
I'm guessing the clapping game was just a movie thing they came up with, right?
Well, at least Scott, at least he didn't give you the clap. Okay, so grateful. for
Hey, the
small
night's early,
favors,
Andrea. The night's
For
early.
God's sake, I told you, Tom. I forewarned you. If you brought me on the show, I would have
Yep.
him laughing. I would have him crying.
Of course.
That's
and
right.
And I
sometimes
knew.
at the same time.
And
Okay.
you've done both, so you've
Yeah.
I have
accomplished
done
that.
both, yes. No, actually, they stole that from my book.
Did
that
they?
was-
Really?
I had
Wow.
told them it wasn't the
Oh.
clapping game. That was their own take on it. My
Yeah.
mother had way too much to do to play hide and seek in the house. But my sister Cindy, my sister Nancy, both got into really bad predicaments, hiding in places they should not have gone in the house.
Oh.
And my mother finally said, no more. When your kids keep come running to you and they've been locked in a closet that they couldn't get out of, or they were, surrounded by a smell of death to the point where it made them retch, or they were so weak-kneed that they fell. After a while, Mom's like, you know what? I don't care if it's 20 below zero. Get the toboggan and go in the backyard and slide it into the stone wall. It's safer.
Yeah, it's safer than getting caught in the walls.
That sounds like a 70s family.
Yeah, exactly. And don't come back until the streetlights come on. But there's no streetlights.
But
Shut
there's
up.
no
Here.
streetlights, Mom. Well,
Yeah.
too bad for you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Tom, what was your second question?
The other question was, you had moved out of the house. The house was sold, but eventually you returned to the house for the very first time. What was that like? The first time you ever returned to the house?
Oh,
And,
that's a
when was that?
blissful
Was it like-
question. It was like being steeped in drawn clarified butter, warm and soft and peaceful and
Comfortable.
blissful. And it's the only place that has ever felt like home to me. It's the only permanent part of my life. Everything else feels temporary, just a pit stop. Even if that pit stop lasts a long time, it's still the only place that is home in my heart is the Richardson Arnold homestead in Harrisville, Rhode Island. And I miss it every day. It's a part of me. Jacqueline Nunez, the owner, has been working with me. We have big plans. I intend to be there a whole lot more from, multiple events over the course of the year. And every time I go, I'm going home. It's
So even with these incredibly supposed scary experiences you had during the 70s growing up there, you're still drawn to that place so strongly.
Yes,
you
and
you can
Mrs.
tell
Warren-
when you're saying that, you're not just saying it. You could tell by the way you look.
It's
and the
always
way
gonna be home
You
to
say
you.
it that you have this incredible bond to that place that just draws
I do.
you.
The day
to
that
it.
we left, my mother said to me, I told her about something that had happened that she had not seen. I mean, she saw it, but she didn't see it from my angle or perspective.
Okay.
And I told her about it as we were packing the last day that we were packing, and we were leaving that day. to drive caravan style to Georgia and leave my sister Nancy behind, which was awful. And as we were, as I was telling her the story, she paused and she looked up at me and she had tears in her eyes. And my mother is not a crier. And she said, I always knew we bought this house for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my sister, as we were leaving, I'm like, Mom, look at the window behind Nancy. Nancy was standing on the front porch when it still had a front porch. And there was an apparition standing of the woman standing right behind her. And my mom looked at her and she's like, it's her choice to stay. We can't drag her along. It's her choice to stay. And she says, but I'll tell you what, I'll never step foot back on this property for the rest of my life. And she has been true to her word.
Really? She's never wanted to go back.
Nope. And when we got to the house in Georgia, Cindy and a family friend had taken our horses down and gotten them situated in the barn and acclimated to the property and getting the house ready for us. And when we got there, the apparition of the same woman was standing behind my sister Cindy in the kitchen window. And my mother grabbed a hold of my hand on the steering wheel and she said, oh my God, this isn't over. This will never be over. And no truer words were ever spoken.
Jeez.
Now, see, that would have been the perfect ending to the movie.
That's a movie right there.
Right, exactly. How the hell did they not pick that as the ending of the movie? Jesus.
So I could use it.
Yes, there you go.
That's right.
The universe takes care of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you need someone to be an extra and dress in a dress and be that apparition, I'm not above putting a dress on, Andrea.
I'm just
honey, I fear you are above nothing.
No, I'm not.
no truer words have ever been spoken. No truer words.
I just wanted to make her laugh now. Come on.
No, I'm just thinking, because for most people, when you mention the words Conjuring house, you're thinking when you move out of there, that's the happiest day of your entire life.
Oh, I cried to Virginia.
Yeah,
right.
But man, when I hear your story, I mean that it's almost heart-wrenching of you leaving this house the way that you were just part of it, and it was part of you. Yeah. Is kind of the opposite of what people would expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was because early on I accepted them.
Right.
I just recently saw a photograph, a screenshot of an episode that I did with the Ghost Brothers like an hour ago. Somebody sent me screenshots, and everybody else and every detail of the room is completely clear. And I am reaching out to make contact with a spirit who I sense is in the room, and I look like I'm a ghost. You can see everything right through me. Wow. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And they didn't do that with CGI. I know this production staff, and I know the Ghost Brothers. They would never allow it. And they had told me months ago that something happens in the show that is so phenomenal that they couldn't even wrap their heads around it. And they sent me, the gentleman that sent me the screenshots said, Andrea, I've never seen anything like this in my life. What is this?
Can't wait to see that episode.
You know, I was just reaching out to make contact with the spirit that I sensed that was standing at the head of the table. And Marcus was having a meltdown because all he could smell was death. And it scared him. And I tried to explain to him that everyone deserves to be loved.
Yep. Oh, we just froze up. Hold on.
So bad.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say that. It could have been, it was because it was one of the men that crawled up under the blacksmith shop and froze to death, and they didn't find his body until it was so decomposed that they could smell the odor of it. Maybe that's how he's trapped in the netherworld.
Right.
And just needs to be loved and you know, given some light so he can find his way home to his eternal rest. We don't know. We don't know jack shit. There is the only thing that we know, what I have said innumerable times, is the safest assumption that we can make is that we know nothing compared with what there is to know. Yeah. There are no experts in this field, and anyone that claims to be, you should turn and run away from them, because not only are they lying to you, they're lying to themselves to even be able to say that.
You're right. Yeah. You're right, because you know what? I've only had one experience, so I had never seen it. I knew that the house was in Rhode Island. I live in Coventry, and 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I was dating someone, and I said to her one day, it was a Saturday afternoon, I said, hey, do you want to take a ride? Let's just kind of drive. You know, it was a nice day. We took a ride, and I said, and she's into paranormal, she's into crystals and stuff like that, and spirits. And I said, hey, do you want to take a ride by the Conjuring house? I have no idea where it is, but I'll look for it. And she said, yeah. And we were going up there, and it was, I won't say it was like a blustery, windy day. It was a summer day, but it was pretty sunny and a little bit windy. As soon as we turned onto that road, it got still. And I don't know how to explain it. I'm not trying to tell a ghost story. I'm not trying to say it was paranormal. It was just odd that we both noticed. I turned to her halfway up the road before we even got to the house. I said, do you notice how still it got? She goes, yeah, it's kind of weird. I said, look at the trees. Like, they're not moving at all. But when we were on Route 7 or Route 44 or whatever road we were on that we turned off of to get to Harrisville or to get to, is it Round Top Road?
Round Top Road.
Round Top Road. Once we turned onto Round Top Road, it just got still. And we drove by the house, and, you know, again, because my only experience was seeing the movie, I'm like, oh wow, the house looks very different than it did in the movie. It's much smaller. It's it looks more like an older colonial house than the house in the movie. But I just thought it was so odd that it was so just still, no wind. It actually was a little bit cloudy. You know, and I'm not saying storm clouds moved in over the house and there were lightning bolts and shit like that. But it just
that would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
But it just seemed so quiet.
You can't chalk this up to paranormal anything. That's Rhode Island.
Right.
You could turn, across the border from Coventry to Warwick and have like being in a different
totally different. I know.
Exactly. You don't like the weather up there. Just wait a minute. And I mean a minute.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, there are times I will say some very, not to make light of it, but there were times when there were natural phenomena that occurred around that place that could not be explained.
You just couldn't explain. Right. Well, here's the cool thing. You just said you're going to be up for Halloween weekend, and I went on the website, and it looks like there's only one spot left on the 29th, the Saturday. Wow. But, we also know some people like yourself and like Cody and Satori. So we may try and, if I can get Scott to...
here we fucking go.
Because I have no
That's
problem.
A big step, taking them right to the Conjuring house next.
It is a big step, but you know what? I'd love to be there with Andrea and with, I'm guessing Cody and Satori might be there that weekend too. I don't know.
And I would be happy to introduce you to my spirit family.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome.
I think they're wonderful. Even the cranky ones are wonderful. We don't know what kind of lives they lived. We don't know why they're stuck.
See, think about the lives.
Compassion and reverence and respect.
You know what?
Called for in that house. Period. And
Andrea,
woe be unto those that go in that house and provoke. And if you have any question in your mind, ask Zach Bagans what happened to him.
Well, and we have talked about that before, and I don't want to drop his name, but I am not. We were talking about it with Joe Chin. We've talked about it with Cody and Satori. We talked about it with Jason last year, with Jason Hawes. What I have learned from watching different types of approaches is, and Ken DaCosta last year, You're going into someone's house. You don't know the circumstances that they lived under. You don't know the circumstances they died from. How would you like it if someone just walked in your house while you're still alive and said, come at me, bro. Come on, move something. Come on, do this, do that. I would never. I've learned that if you respect those that have passed on, they're going to respect you. Yeah. And so I think even when we've done one investigation, we went to the Payne house a month ago, and that's exactly the way we treated it. We were very, very cordial, very nice. To your point, you don't know what these people lived through. These poor people from the 1600s and 1700s had horrendous winters, had horrendous living conditions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can imagine some of them would be still grumpy, you know, or not happy. I would never provoke. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
No, but I would feel a little more comfortable and a little more safe, if you will, in a situation with someone like yourself, Andrea, that is experienced in a place like that.
Right.
That, you know, understands the surroundings, the atmosphere, the, you know, everything that's going on in there, than I would be walking into a place by myself,
right.
or with inexperienced people that haven't been there before, that don't understand the layout.
But not only is she familiar with the layout and the spirits are familiar with her.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
So it's a little bit of a different atmosphere than it would be just walking in on your own or with people that aren't familiar with it.
Right.
So I would feel a little more at ease,
well,
if you will.
October 29th.
I have not. I don't have any gigs that weekend. I can't even bullshit my way through it.
Neither do
I have a website. I have a website that shows all my gigs, so I can't even lie about it.
So we are going to work on that.
They always.
I would be honored. I would be honored.
There were some people doing some investigative work at the house prior to my arrival. The last time I went up, and when I walked in, they played the EVP for me. When one of them said, Andrea's coming today, and the immediate response was, "We know."
Oh, get the hell out of here!
God.
Now I'm busy that weekend.
No, you're not.
Now I'm busy that weekend.
We are.
Yeah, okay. You need to call and suck up to get Jacqueline. That's what you need to do.
Okay,
Jacqueline Nunez is the owner of the farm.
Tom, get on it.
My house, you would be there. I would make you spend the night. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's an overnight investigation. Right. It says it's until like 4 a.m.
Okay,
so
shit.
That is my goal, is tomorrow I will somehow, because for some reason it said there was only one spot available, but if I can sneak
it's sold
two,
out fast.
I will suck up to Jacqueline. I'm going to find out how I can contact her and get your head out of your hand.
I think I'm having a stroke right now.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine.
Okay.
You'll be fine.
It's all right. It's
how
just a mini
awesome.
stroke. It'll go away.
Yeah,
no,
exactly. It's a TIA.
Oh, you're a doctor now, Andrea? Jeez.
I can put you in touch with her, sweetheart.
All right.
I'll send her
information.
I'll send her information to
Thank
Tom.
you.
He'll disseminate it to you. And,
okay.
And it's easy to. Well, no, you won't be able to reach her till she's going to be away for a few days. But
all right. Well, I'll send something to her.
I'll put a little thing in her ear that you guys want to come, and you have this great show in Rhode Island and a huge following. And
thank you.
It would be good for the farm to have you there. And yeah, we'll see what we can do to arrange this for you.
That would be fantastic.
It would be an honor.
It really would be an honor. And listen, it's also been an honor to talk to you tonight. Like I said,
thank you so
we
much.
met you last year, and instantly we were like, how awesome is she? She had so many great stories. She was so cordial, so fantastic. We got to get her on the show. So I can't thank you enough. And especially with, let's face it, what you've been through. I don't know if the audience really picked up on it, but you live in the Orlando area. And you got hit with the hurricane last week.
Yeah,
we are thankful that you were able to, first of all, that you're safe.
That you're okay.
That you're okay. Hopefully your house didn't sustain too much damage.
We had 22 inches of rain in 12 hours.
Jeez.
And the garage flooded. A little bit of the Florida room got wet because it got down behind the sandbags at the back door. But other than that, we didn't lose a single shingle.
Good.
And
That's
nothing
great.
down in the yard except a whole bunch of Spanish moss Everybody else around us lost their electricity, and we never did.
Really?
I can't explain it. I don't ask. I just say thank you to the universe, and we were good.
That's
and then
fantastic.
I flew on out of here and went to Phoenix, Arizona, to the Vulture City ghost town, and just got back from that Monday evening in time. I spent my entire birthday at 39,000 feet.
Oh my
with
God.
The Galactic Family, and that was ultra cool. Sitting next to a NASA scientist. Can you imagine?
Wow.
That's kind of cool.
We had. Yeah, I went home to Winter Garden. He went over to Cape Canaveral. And I live close enough to the Cape that I could, when the rockets are going off, it seems like every other day.
Yeah.
All I have to do is step outside and just watch them launch right from my own front yard. It's so great.
It's a great area. My brother and I have a house in Davenport, not far from you, just west of Kissimmee. And we had a bunch of rain. We had some leaks in the house. We're getting fixed, but knock on wood, the house is still there. No major issues. But
well, I could sop up what got in with towels.
That's
and
great.
Never lost I lost my internet
power
for a couple of days, but no, we had electricity, and
That's
I was
great.
just so grateful because we were the only area of Orange County that didn't take a pounding. And just a little bit south of us, southeast, is Orlando, and there are still alligators swimming in the streets of Orlando.
I know. I've seen videos
of that. They
that.
don't know where their lake or retaining pond ends and the streets begin. It was a disaster, and we got off easy compared to Fort Myers, and Sanibel Island needs to be given back to Mother Nature because it's nothing but a sandbar.
I know. My sister, I have a
shape.
sister in Fort Myers, just outside of Sanibel, and knock on wood, everyone's safe, everyone's good. Lost a little bit of power, but everyone is doing all right. But Sanibel Island, I think it was just on the news tonight that they finally made like a temporary fix of the causeway so that they can get power trucks and construction equipment over there to start rebuilding.
It's a disaster down here. It'll take 10 years minimum to
get back. I know. Well, I remember when what was it, Andrew, that hit the West Coast, and I remember going there
August 24th, 1992.
And I remember going there a couple of years later, and there was still blue tarps on roofs of houses, as you went through Punta Gorda and that area. So no, we're really glad that you're safe. We can't thank you enough, and we really do look forward. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Trust me.
And
we will see you in a couple of weeks because I'm going to do some work.
Oh, here we go. And in the meantime, what can we?
Tom needs to get well so that we can all go out and have dinner and.
I got my Dayquil. I'll be good.
I thought he was chugging. I thought he was chugging vitamin water. He's been chugging Dayquil.
Well, I do. I got the Gatorade too.
Oh, all right. Okay. I thought that was the Dayquil. I got nervous.
Andrea, what can we promote for you? As far as like website or Facebook.
Website's down temporarily for. It needed to be brought into the 21st century,
as we all do.
And so. I'm working on that, but anybody that wants to find me on Facebook, I have 5 pages. I have my main page. My fan page is called Buttercup Brigade, House of Darkness, House of Light, A World Awakening, which is one of my shows. And I can't even remember the other one because I never get to visit it. But I'm really everywhere over there. And should subscribe to Andrea Perron YouTube, because all of my simulcast shows on KGRA are also archived there. And there's boatloads of videos going back 12 years that are all fun to watch. So
I'll put a link to that YouTube on our show notes so people can find it there, and to her Facebook as well. So
and I'll have the website up and running with all kinds of newfangled information.
Awesome.
Pretty soon.
Awesome. So if you want to check out some amazing content, go to her YouTube page.
Yeah.
Obviously, she has 3 amazing books.
Read the books.
If you want to read
read them now.
the true stories of what really happened
At the Conjuring House.
check out all 3 of her books. And like she said, what really happened was scary enough.
Well, the truth is usually stranger than fiction anyway.
Exactly.
But in this case, that's it gives it all new meaning. It truly does. And just to
Definitely
be able
check
to
it out.
spend, for me, it makes no difference that it's Halloween or any other day.
Right.
Exactly.
Every day was Halloween living in that house. But it was also really kind of an epiphany the first year that we lived there. And nobody came to the door. I mean, I know it was a remote setting, but Halloween was never celebrated in the house. Right. And, my younger sisters would go into town with my dad and make their way through the village and then come home to a full bowl of candy because we were waiting for someone to stop by and no one ever did. So this year, we're going to have an official Halloween party and celebrate that beautiful home with family and friends and the community, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. And Ace will be there handing out candy.
Yeah, no, well, I will. Listen, I'm not kidding.
Is what I'll be doing.
I have wanted to. I'll be wearing a dress so I can be the apparition.
Yes, he'll be the apparition in the window handing out candy.
Honestly, I have wanted to go to the Conjuring House, and I've been working on Scott for a couple of years, but knowing that I have an opportunity to be there while you're there makes it all the more special, honestly. And I'm not trying to blow different level. I'm not trying to blow smoke because, like you said, when you go there, it's like being in warm butter. It's like being home. So to be able to be there with the person that went through all those experiences, I know it's going to be a very interesting night to be there.
Yeah,
that's probably the only way you could get me there.
Yeah,
I can't help it. Once I step onto that property, they know it. Yeah, and the house becomes very active. And I'm really looking forward to going home very soon.
That's awesome. Well, make sure you send that contact info to Tom because I do want to reach out to her to see if we can get in. That would be fantastic.
I sure will, I promise.
Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We really appreciate it, and have a good rest of the night.
Very happy to have been with you, and I want to wish everyone a spooktacular happy Halloween.
Yes. Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea.
Good night.
Have a good night. All right, and that was Andrea Perron.
Tom, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Especially for
awesome.
I know how sick you've been feeling, but to be able to still have you on
to man up and be the Scottober third mic that you are.
Exactly.
I couldn't miss out on Andrea, boy. She's something.
Oh man, she what a great storyteller. She's so genuine, so real. And
because she lived through those experiences,
but not just lived through it. She has such a connection to that property and that
to
house.
Be able to say that she lived there for 10 years out of her entire life, but still considers that her home.
Right. You can tell when she talks about it, and I said that to her that she has such a reverence. I guess is the word that I come up with when I see her talking about it.
But that's right.
Well said, Tom.
But that's why, Tom, and that we've been saying, like I've been saying, not so much Scott, I've been saying how bad I want to go there. But if I have an opportunity,
I haven't said that once.
But if I have an opportunity to go there with her and be, and be there with her, that's just that's my dream come true. So
spirits aside. Hauntings aside, the house is really amazing. It's so old. Everything is original in there.
Yeah,
like you can still see the axe marks on the ceiling, on the beams from when they cut these beams with an axe. Like, it's that old. The doors have latches still.
See, I love stuff like that.
And so the interesting thing is, a couple of weeks ago when we recorded with Cody and Satori and Tom, they went up to the Conjuring House that night because Ken DaCosta was running an investigation. And Tom texted us the next day and was like,
Dude,
what an
it was
amazing
crazy.
experience last night. Like, I really hope, I'm going to reach out to Cody and Satori to see if they're going to be there on the 29th too, because imagine an investigation with Cody, Satori, and Andrea.
That would be.
You guys need to see what Cody and Satori do.
I do.
They're like a human Ouija board. The way they're able to contact.
Okay,
spirits.
you're not selling it right now.
No.
Yeah,
It's
not selling it
unbelievable.
right now.
It's never a scary thing. It's always just like a psychic that blows your mind. It's
Hyper
really,
interesting.
Really amazing.
They're just a conduit for
But the
activity.
way they're able to communicate is,
Yeah.
and I've seen this probably 5 or 6 times now, and it's unbelievable to me. It's not even something you can explain. You have to witness it. You can watch. They've done it on the Ghost Hunter show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're on this new season on one episode that's coming out if it hasn't hit already.
Yep.
And then last season they were on an episode where they actually do their communication thing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's something different I've never seen before, never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of in many years ago, people used to contact spirits with knocking.
Right.
But the way they're doing it, it's not like there's a table or anything. The knocking is just in the room and you can't tell
And
where
you
it's
don't
coming
know
from.
where it's coming from.
You don't. And it moves around the room. So it's not like it's always where they're standing. It moves around the room and it blows my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
they're
awesome.
special.
That's awesome. Well, I know Scott wanted to ease into the paranormal, but
Right in the deep end, buddy.
listen, to have an opportunity like that,
I was standing at the edge of the deep end of the pool, glancing in.
I
to
just kicked him in.
See who was in there, and the two of you ran up behind me and said,
Yep.
"Jump
Boom.
in."
well, because you know what, and honestly, if we record anything that night, that'll be the night that we'll save that, and next Scottober we can come back on, and actually it'd be cool to have Andrea back on next year to talk about the investigation.
I'm
with
sure
us,
she'll do it.
And Scott's definitely sweating a little bit like that first episode you came on a couple of years ago, but you know what? I am so excited because I've wanted to go there, and to be able to go there with her just makes it that much more special. So
yeah, we'll see if we can make it happen. It depends how crowded it's going to be because it's a big event.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I went on the website and it listed one spot. So I gotta figure.
We probably can't go.
No,
then.
but I gotta figure that there's gotta be a way. I get it. They don't want to have like 40 people, but if you and Andrea can vouch for us and get us in, I can't imagine that the owner wouldn't.
Yeah.
Wouldn't.
Well,
allow
Andrea's
us.
got more pull than I do.
Right. No, I get it.
See.
Do you think?
We'll run it past the right people and see what happens.
Well, but
hopefully.
she said it. She said, she said she would put a bug in the owner's ear about us coming on. So that would be fantastic.
Oh, it's so cool.
But man, we can't thank you enough, Tom. You've been so
you've been
bad
awesome.
that
You've been
you
awesome.
that you
Thank you.
feel sick. But hopefully you're better next week when we have Ken on. Have you started going through any of the evidence from the Payne House investigation?
I haven't had a chance to sit down and listen. I really need to make sure.
And I had my recorder on when we were doing our investigations during all the time you were recording, and I haven't listened to any of it either. So I'm going to spend some time listen to it just to see if I pick up anything. But I know you have to have your headphones on and concentrate.
Yeah, you're going to want to use headphones, not have any distractions.
Right.
Keep like a notepad with you so you can kind of take some notes of what you heard, where you heard it, when you heard it. And then we can compare. Like if you do hear something that you think is strange, I can listen on the same spot of my audio and see if we can collaborate.
That's right. That's what I figured. I'll listen. If I pick up on anything, I'll text you and I'll say at this time I
heard this.
I heard this.
Yeah.
And we can bring it together and go from there.
And what I'll do is I thought I had the Estes session on my phone. What I did was I did it as a Facebook Live. So I'll go back to my Facebook Live and try and download the video, because what I'd love to do, because this platform that we use, StreamYard, is so cool, I can download videos. So I'm going to figure out over the next week or so how to download videos
that'd be
from my phone onto or from Facebook Live onto this. And then, we can talk about it and then show the video of the SD session.
Yeah. I might have the audio from it too. And I know I was taking notes. So I definitely have info on that. That was interesting.
But I think it'd be better to have everyone see Scott wearing a surgical mask as a blindfold.
Oh yeah,
because it was so funny. I go, it looks like you're wearing a thong on your head. But it was a great investigation though. There were definitely some videos that we caught of. And we don't know what the EVP sessions sound like.
We'll get into it a little more deeper that night.
But the K2 meter stuff, there were a couple of times the K2 meter, showed something. So it'll be awesome.
one very funny moment that we'll bring up.
That was funny.
Don't give it all away.
No, but it was very funny. So, but man, thank you so much for helping us get Andrea.
Tom, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We really do.
Awesome.
And we will hopefully, like I said, by next week you'll feel better, and we'll have you on the Payne House investigation / Ken DaCosta episode. The last, we'll be on live the last Wednesday of Scottober.
Thank God.
And the episode will be out on the Thursday on all the audio platforms. So, and then we'll see what happens at the Conjuring House, but. Thanks so much, Tom. We really appreciate you being on. Have a good night. I hope you're feeling better.
See you, buddy.
And that was Tom Stewart and Andrea Perron. That was. I'm just blown away by this episode.
She was great.
I love how she goes, I'm sorry for monopolizing the conversation. I'm like, you just
it's all about you.
It's all about you. Exactly. She was awesome.
She is just like so down to earth about everything, and I'm like thinking it's just so funny that to me it was just such an ironic thing that you spent 10 years in a house that is considered one of the scariest places ever, and yet you're drawn to go back to this place, and you're like,
and you feel it's like warm
home.
butter.
It's home. It's warm, drawn butter.
I know.
I feel safe there. I feel this, and I'm like, no, it's the scariest place on earth, but yet there's something about the place that compels you to go back.
Wait until you go there, though. It's so weird because it's so different than the movie.
Right. Well,
it's not like this 2-story house. It's like this 1-story ranch.
Well, I haven't seen the movie.
Oh,
let's be honest.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, you
no
pussy.
Fucking way have I seen the movie.
Well, listen. You should watch the movie before you go to the house.
Yes, I have.
Because honestly, I think it'll put you more at ease because when you go to the house, you're going to be like, oh, it's just this little.
I've been on the website. I've seen the pictures. I know what the real house looks like.
Totally different.
There's no fucking way I'm watching the movie.
Well, listen, I can't wait. We're going to be there. I am so fucking excited. No, not we'll see. We are going to be there.
We'll see.
We are going to get a press pass and be there. I don't care. We're press.
He's doing press passes now. Ace is taking it to the next level.
I don't care. We're a podcast.
Washington Post people.
That's right. Excuse me. I'm going to have a felt hat with press.
This is like Brad Pierce. Hey. I got a press pass.
It's going to be like the old time cartoons with the felt hat with the press thing coming out of the band.
With the big press thing coming out.
That's what I'm going to do. No, listen, folks, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, we are a comedy podcast, but we love talking. Well, I love talking paranormal during the month of Scottober, and we hope you guys enjoy it too. So again, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, tell a friend, subscribe. Give us a 5-star written review. We really appreciate it. Again, I've been listening. I got to give a shout out to our buddies on the Mixtape podcast.
Those guys are awesome.
I listened to an episode today, and it was all about fake bands from movies and TV shows. And I'm screaming like, the Blues Brothers. And that was the last one that they did.
Yes.
But I actually did. I want it when they come on, I want to point out that they forgot one that I thought should have gotten on there.
Who's that?
Well, if you're familiar with the movie Animal House.
Oh.
Otis Day and the Nights.
Yes.
How do you not have Otis Day and the Nights? I didn't even know the Isley.
People don't think of that.
I didn't even know the Isley brothers sang Shout. I only knew it as Otis Day and the Knights from Animal House.
Right.
So, but those guys do such an awesome podcast, and I want to be part of one of them. Like, that's why I want to get them on, because
such
I want
a fun, interesting podcast.
I want to talk to them about how they came about, how they started the podcast.
Yeah.
But then I want to do what they do on their podcast and have them pick a topic and have us come with like our prepared stuff.
Yeah.
Because
very
it's such a
interesting
fun
stuff.
podcast. If you're into that, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, that's exactly what they do. They talk about shit from the 80s and 90s, whether it's music, whether it's movies.
And they've gotten some pretty good guests. They had one of the members of the Smithereens.
The drummer from the Smithereens was on a couple of weeks ago.
They get some amazing
Rhonda Shear
guests.
from Up All Night, who we've talked about on this podcast before. So you got to check them out. They're one of our friends. Check out the Mixtape podcast. Very, very funny and very nostalgic. It's a great podcast.
A lot of fun.
Not that these guys need a shout out, because they are the first podcast that you told me about. But I have been listening to True Crime Garage, and I'd love to get those guys on, because even though they're a true crime podcast, the captain comes out with some funny fucking lines. His one-liners, and then the other guy just kind of like, it's almost like he you can't see it, but he looks at him like, you fucking idiot, and then he moves on. But his one-liners are so funny. They make it so interesting to listen to.
It's nothing within our genre.
No, not at all.
They're such an entertaining and interesting podcast. Mm-hmm. I absolutely, if you are into true crime,
they are the true crime podcast. Forget any other true crime podcast. These guys are the best,
because they make it so entertaining.
Yeah.
Because they cover the case really well.
Right. Very detailed.
Yeah. They cover all the details, all the parts of the case, but they make it
when
so
the captain
fun.
Comes out with these fucking one-liners, he kills me. He makes me laugh every episode.
He's so sarcastic.
Yes.
And his biting humor is so well placed when he does it.
But then the other guy just goes on with the story, and you wonder, like,
he has all the facts and everything.
Did they look at each other and go, shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, you wonder, but he never does. Very few times, every once in a while, the captain will make the colonel laugh.
Yes, their chemistry is well placed.
It's fantastic.
It's well placed.
Yeah.
So those are two very good podcasts.
Yeah, you got to check those two podcasts out. And listen, join us next week when we have Ken DaCosta on from Rise Up Paranormal, where and Tom, where we talk about our investigation at the Payne House, and
we wrap up Scottober, which has been a great Scottober.
Much to my chagrin and much to Scott's elation, we'll be getting back to comedy guests in November,
where we talk to the great Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal, talk about, our actual investigation that Ace dragged me on kicking and screaming.
You had fun.
I did. It was interesting. Yeah. It was very, very interesting. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk to Ken about some of the other investigations he's done as we wrap up Scottober.
So, folks, thank you so much for listening. Tell a friend. Subscribe. Patreon.com/Behind the Funny. If you have any questions for us, or you've got a guest that you'd love to hear us interview from comedy, please write to us. Our email address is
behindthefunnypod@gmail.com.
And other than that, we will talk to you
next week.